Next, Junichiro Koizumi, the Japanese Prime Minister, addresses his country's legislative body, the Diet. He reacted to the terrorist attacks on the United States and outlined his policy objectives for the future. His speech happened on Friday. It's about a half an hour.
There has been a request to make a policy speech by Prime Minister. I give the approval. Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi. On the occasion of the opening of the 153rd session of the Diet, I'd like to focus in my policy speech on the number of issues of urgency that currently faces, and I would like to ask for the understanding and cooperation of all people of Japan. The series of terrorist attacks in the United States are not only an attack on the United States, they represent a despicable attack on all of humankind. On my recent visit to the United States, I saw with my own eyes the devastating scars of those acts of terrorism, and I was filled once again with overwhelming indignation at these appalling, inhumane acts of violence. At the same time, my heart goes out to the people of the United States and to all those who have suffered from the attacks. The United States has declared that it will take resolute actions in response to these terrorist attacks. In talks with President Bush of the United States on 25th September, we agreed wholeheartedly that countries of the world should unite with a firm resolve to fight this kind of terrorism. I conveyed to President Bush that Japan strongly supports the United States and that Japan will implement all possible measures in response to these acts of terrorism. The fight against terrorism is Japan's own challenge. Japan will, in cooperation with the international community, take effective measures against this threat on its own initiative. We will take necessary action promptly in order to implement the 7-point immediate measures I announced last week. It is feared that the acts of terrorism perpetrated in the United States will have an adverse effect on the global economy. The government of Japan, carefully monitoring the situation fully, will, in cooperation with other countries, carry out appropriate responses in order to ensure economic stability in such aspects as the financial system and currency markets. 5 months have passed since the inauguration of the Koizumi cabinet on 26 April. In the meantime, I've endeavored with all my might to carry out the duties expected of a Prime Minister of Japan. I'm all too acutely aware of the seriousness of the judgments a Prime Minister must make in facing the plethora of domestic and international issues. In my first policy speech to the previous ordinary session of the Diet, I pledged to the people of Japan that I would ceaselessly push on with reforms for what should be termed a restoration in a new century. My policy of advancing reforms by taking a stance of no fear, no hesitation, and no constraint received widespread public support on all levels at the general elections for the House of Councillors. The other G8 leaders also expressed their strong expectations for my reforms at the G8 Genoa summit held in July. With such strong support, I am confident of the success of the reforms. What is needed above all else is strong resolve in ceaselessly implementing reforms. With the support of the people of Japan, I will proceed with reforms without sanctuaries. The culmination of these reforms is now about to begin. In order to bring about a bright future for a Japan that has found itself in a state of near paralysis, I will tackle reforms with firm resolve. I would like to take this opportunity to present the 5 goals of the Koizumi structural reforms. The first of these is a society in which effort is rewarded and a spirit of allowing people a second chance prevails. The second is a society in which the knowledge of the private sector and local regions are utilized to bring about vitality and prosperity. The third, society that is caring to others, in which people can live safely in peace of mind. Fourth, society that is enveloped by a beautiful environment that allows for a comfortable lifetime. Finally, a society that nurtures the dreams and hope of its children. I will channel all my energies to see to it that we can achieve these goals for our society. While specific measures and an implementation schedule have been detailed in the reform schedule, I will advance the reforms further by continuously evaluating and reviewing the state of progress of reforms. The Japanese economy is at the center of the maelstrom of global economic changes. In order to ride out the storm represented by these changes, we must break away from the attitude that tends to swing between elation and desperation by short-term developments, while paying due attention to the changing circumstances around us. I will vigorously push forward structural reforms in order to increase the fundamental growth potential of the economy. At the same time, I will respond boldly and with flexibility depending on the economic situation. During the course of October, the Advanced Reform Program will be compiled. This reform program will not give priority to public investment, but it will instead focus on institutional reforms for reinvigorating the economy and generating new industries, employment measures, and measures for small and medium enterprises, and those measures that are highly urgent for accelerating structural reforms. The supplementary budget for fiscal 2001 should not be one that leads to an easy path of increasing the issuance of government bonds. I will take the same policy for supplementary budget for fiscal 2002, that the issuance of government bonds should be kept under 30 trillion yen. The alleviation of the pain that will accompany reforms is a political responsibility. I will demonstrate clearly the means we have at hand to tackle the insecurity of the people of Japan regarding employment. The headquarters for Industrial Structural Reform and Employment Measures recently compiled a number of comprehensive measures. I will incorporate those measures that should be dealt with immediately in the Advanced Reform Program and implement them intensively using the supplementary budget. In order to create employment through new market industry, I will promote the advancement of science and technology through enhancing the functions of universities and through cooperation among industry, universities, and government and local regions, including the promotion of the participation of private sector companies in the management of child care facilities and daycare centers, making active use of the private finance initiative PFI. I will swiftly implement regulatory reform in such areas as medical service, welfare, and child care labor. Over the course of 5 years, I aim to double the number of new businesses that are opened or established from the current rate that is languishing at of 180,000 new businesses per year. In implementing these measures, I will set specific targets such as creation of 10,000 new jobs during fiscal 2002 through such strategies as a zero waiting list for nursery schools. Although we currently find ourselves in a severe employment situation, there are 7 million jobs offered at the Public Employment Service Agency each year, which is more than the number of job seekers. The number of annual job placement advertisements now exceeds 3 million. Both numbers are on a level with figures during the bubble economy years. In order to eliminate mismatches between job seekers and employers and to ensure that as many people as possible are able to find employment, I will enhance the job information network that enables people to search the internet for job opportunities and enhance the effective development of vocational capabilities respecting individual choice. In addition, in cooperation with local governments, I will facilitate the use of human resources and create employment in the public services sector in areas such as education and environmental preservation. Over the course of 3 years, we aim to employ 50,000 people as supplementary teachers who can use their working experiences to great effect in the classroom in elementary and junior high schools. We will actively use human resources that exist in the community in such projects as tree thinning and weeding that are both so vital to forestry preservation and the compilation of a waste map in order to further promote the removal of discarded waste. For the middle-aged and elderly who experience particular difficulty in being re-employed, we will expand employment insurance benefits to those persons who take up vocational training in order to promote re-employment and bring about lifestyle stability. In order to expand employment and create industrial vitality, we will implement appropriate measures to seek to promote business startups and the management reorganization of SMEs across Japan. In addition to diversifying the means by which SME can procure capital, we will enhance support measures for such areas as human resource and technology development, and we will strengthen measures aimed at avoiding chain reaction collapses of SMEs that have high aspirations. We must proceed with all reforms swiftly. Concerning the first challenge in the economic and financial sector, namely the final disposal of non-performing loans, firstly, by drastically strengthening the inspections of the major banks, in addition moving to introduce inspections that focus on debtors, which, according to market evaluations, are undergoing conspicuous changes, we will ensure that reserves exist to promptly respond to market evaluations. Next, in order to expand the functions of the Resolution Collection Corporation, RCC, we will introduce more flexibility into the pricing system for non-performing loan purchase and promote the establishment of a fund for further corporate reconstruction. Through these new measures, we are resolved to normalize the problem of non-performing loans at the latest by the end of the three-year concentrated period of adjustment. Toward the structural reform of the financial system in order to limit the risk of holding shares by banks and others, we will newly introduce limits on shareholdings. Together with these new limits, in order to smoothly facilitate the disposal of shares, we will aim to establish the Bank Equity Purchasing Corporation BPC in January next year. To this end, I will be submitting the necessary bills to this session of the Diet. The second challenge we face in the economic and financial sector is the creation of a competitive economic system. Through the promotion of competition and technological innovation, we will strive to construct a consumer and people-oriented social-economic system and vitalize the economy. Concerning regulatory reform of those sectors in which there is plenty of potential to expand both demand and employment, which are directly linked to the lives of the people, including medical service, welfare, and child care and labor, we will carry out such reform promptly and steadily. In order to construct a highly transparent and fair securities market in which the people can participate with ease, I will advance such measures as establishment of infrastructure to improve market reliability and submit an amendment bill to this session of the Diet concerning the securities taxation system. In relation to information technology, IT, we have formulated the E-Japan 2002 program as an interim target and have accelerated the move toward becoming the most advanced IT nation in the world. I will work intensively toward achieving such measures as e-government that enables applications and notifications to be made from homes and offices. Aiming to be a nation that is built through the promotion of science and technology, we will promote strategic research and development investment in the areas of science and technology. In order to enhance urban appeal and international competitiveness, we will work to implement specific measures for urban renaissance projects, including efforts to enhance regional disaster reliefs and logistical functions for large urban areas, the formulation of an international hub for the study of life sciences, and the improvement of facilities for central government and national universities through private financing initiatives, PFI. In addition, we will promote measures to advance togetherness and exchange between cities and agriculture, mountainous and fishing communities, in order that people in each can enjoy the benefits and appeal of the other. The third challenge is fiscal structural reform. Under the policy that in the budget for fiscal 2002, the issuance of government should be kept under 30 trillion yen, and with a policy of reducing the budget by 5 trillion yen while allocating an additional 2 trillion yen to prioritized area, we will work to achieve a drastic revision in expenditure and a more prioritized allocation of the budget. Through such measures as the formulation of basic guidelines for budgetary compilation, with November as a target, we will realize a budget for ceaseless reform. We will formulate a mid-term economic and fiscal plan and show a specific path for fiscal structural reform. The difficult battle for administrative structural reform is already underway. A thorough, zero-based review of all special public institutions is being made upon the premise of either abolishing or privatizing such organizations, and reorganizations and rationalization plans will be drafted for them by the end of the year. Decisions will be forthcoming regarding the abolition, breakup, or privatization of the 4 highway-related corporations: the Urban Development Corporation, Public Housing Corporation, the Japan National Oil Corporation, ahead of decisions on the others. The results of these reviews will be reflected in the budget for fiscal 2002, with a view to make a bold reduction in the outlays provided special public institutions from both the general account and special accounts. Councils have already been launched to consider a system for the direct election of the Prime Minister and to discuss what is to be done with the 3 postal businesses, and these councils are expected to compile specific proposals within approximately 1 year. With a view to promoting greater decentralization, vigorous efforts will be made to advance the mergers of local governments around the country based on the support plan recently adopted. Legislation will be submitted to the session of the Diet in order to establish the principles and system of advancing a judicial system that is appropriate to the needs of the new age. It is extremely regrettable that the credibility of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have been greatly damaged as a result of the series of scandals. In order to regain the trust of the people as quickly as possible, the necessary reform will be firmly implemented so that we can establish a system without which all effort can be focused on tackling the important diplomatic issues at hand. It is indeed regrettable that currently serving civil servants were arrested, and as a result of suspicion of violation of the public office election law in the recent elections for the House of Councillors, that a Diet member had to resign. I view this incident with particular severity and will ensure necessary discipline. Our nation's social welfare system is essential to ensure that each and every one of our people can realize his or her potential and enjoy lives full of hope and peace of mind. In particular, in order to rebuild our medical system so that they will be sustainable into the future, I intend to make my utmost efforts to compile a reform plan by the end of this year and submit the necessary legislation for consideration to the ordinary session of the Diet next year. In order to support working parents, I launched a strategy to reduce to 0 the number of children on waiting lists for nursery schools, and a plan to create a structure to provide for daycare for children during after-school hours. We have already established the goals of increasing by 2004 the capacity of daycare and other facilities for an additional 150,000 children, and the expansion of after-school daycare facilities with a target of 15,000 establishments. Full efforts will be made to achieve these goals. As part of our efforts to tackle environmental issues, the Urban Renaissance Headquarters recently adopted a project to build a zero-garbage city, and pioneering efforts will be made to implement this project in the waterfront areas along Tokyo Bay. The government has decided to procure more than 1,000 low-emission vehicles during the current fiscal year. Over the next 3 years, all of the approximately 7,000 general official vehicles will be replaced with low-emission models. Furthermore, in order to ensure that these initiatives by the central government spread throughout local government organizations and the private sector, an action plan was compiled on ways to promote the development and adoption of low-emission vehicles. As an initiative which the government can take for itself on environmental issues, efforts are underway to promote the recycling of food. Ministry of Agriculture, Forestries and Fisheries decided to launch a program through which food left over from the cafeterias within its building is collected and provided to farmers for use as fertilizers and livestock feed. Government is now urging these concerned parties to expand this program throughout all of the central ministries and agencies, and is encouraging local governments and the private sector to initiate similar programs. With a view to improving our nation's food self-sufficiency ratio, specific policies will be compiled around November of this year regarding a review of our rice production and distribution system. Even in Japan, which has been called the safest nation in the world, recently have been plagued by tragedies such as the incident at Ikeda Elementary School, fire that erupted in a building in Shinjuku. Many precious lives were lost, and the myth of our nation's safety systems seems to be disappearing before our eyes. We must re-establish our nation as the safest country in the world and the government will take measures to strengthen measures to combat vicious crimes and to prevent and respond to fires and other disasters. I will make the utmost efforts to ensure this, including support and assistance to the victims of disasters, and the rebuilding and reconstruction are fully implemented. Furthermore, through increasing the number of personnel and by enhancing investigation equipment, we will make efforts to further strengthen our immigration control structure. Recently, the first ever case of infection of mad cow disease was confirmed in Japan. Measures are immediately taken to ensure that no cows that were infected would be used for meat or for livestock feed. Efforts will be made to ensure thorough information disclosure, and necessary steps will be put in place. On September 8th, we commemorated the 50th anniversary of the signing of San Francisco Peace Treaty and the Security Treaty between Japan and the United States of America. The signing of these treaties marked the first step for Japan to rejoin the international community of the post-Second World War, and was indeed the starting point for the peace and prosperity of Japan today. In order for us to ensure that the peace and prosperity of Japan will continue throughout the 21st century, it is essential that Japan plays a leading role in furthering the development of an international order premised on respect for basic human rights and democracy, market economy, and free trade. I intend for Japan to take the initiative in addressing the range of major issues, including that of the WTO, ensuring entry into the force of the Kyoto Protocol next year, and the early achievement of the UN Security Council reform. Relations with the United States, our ally, are the cornerstone of Japan's foreign policy. I will work to ensure that the Japan-U.S. security arrangements function even more effectively, and to engage in constructive dialogue with the United States in a spirit of cooperation and solidarity. Moreover, while earnestly striving to promote growth and development of Okinawa, I intend to concentrate my fullest efforts on the steady implementation of the final report of the Special Action Committee on Okinawa, including the relocation and the return of Futema Air Station, and to make efforts to alleviate the burden borne by the people of Okinawa Prefecture. I will do all that I can in order to consolidate relations of friendship and trust with our neighboring nations in Asia. As for relations with the Republic of Korea and People's Republic of China, we must forge future-oriented cooperative relations while clearly showing Japan's fundamental policy of squarely facing our past history and renouncing war and respecting peace. I wish to meet directly with the leaders of both countries and hold earnest talks with them at the earliest possible opportunity. Although I recently had to postpone my scheduled visits to several nations in Southeast Asia in order to respond to the situations following the tragic terrorist attacks in the United States, I do intend to realize these visits as soon as possible. Japan will move forward hand in hand with the nations of East Asia in order to ensure that this region develops as a free, stable, and dynamic region in the 21st century. In our relations with the Russian Federation, I intend to do my utmost to resolve the issues of the attribution of the North Territories, and then conclude a peace treaty, while at the same time working to promote cooperation in economic fields and the international community. I intend to seek a prompt conclusion of the issues of third country fishing in the waters around the four northern islands through consultations with the government of the Russian Federation. With regard to our relations with North Korea, we will strive determinedly to achieve progress in the normalization talks with North Korea in close cooperation with Republic of Korea and the United States, and through such dialogues, we will continue to make efforts toward the solution to the humanitarian issues and security issues with North Korea. Even in times of peace, it is the responsibility of government to ensure a structure that will enable us to take the appropriate response in the event that our nation and our people are threatened by a crisis. Bearing in mind the adage, to be prepared and have no regrets, I intend to advance considerations on national emergency legislation. In pursuing reform, I have attached importance on making sure that I maintain close dialogue with the people of our nation. Town meetings that were initiated in June of this year have created many opportunities for dynamic dialogue with people around the nation. By November, we will have held one in each of the prefectures of the nation, and opportunities for continuing dialogue will be prepared after that. Approximately 2.3 million people are now reading the Koizumi Cabinet email magazine, and I intend to make even greater use of it as a forum for interactive dialogue. The culmination of the reforms is imminent. Throughout its history, Japan has time and again seized on crises as opportunities advance forward, exemplified in the strides we made to become a modern nation after the arrival of the black ships of Commodore Perry, as well as in the determination with which we built our nation from ashes after the Second World War. These fruits were born of the efforts of our people who strove forward to build our nation undaunted by change. I firmly believe that the engine that will propel our nation forward is none other than our ability to accept change and rise with courage to meet the challenges of a new age. Indeed, in espousing his theory of evolution, Charles Darwin stated, "Those that survive are not the strongest nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change." We now face new economic phenomena such as deflationary pressure unlike anything that we experienced in the long process of economic development that followed after the end of the Second World War. Our nation has a responsibility to the world to revitalize our economy. We must seize upon the difficulties we currently face as an opportunity for new growth and carve out a new future for the nation in a spirit of no growth without reform. The entire global community stands undaunted and ready to fight resolutely the unprecedented cowardly acts of terrorism. In the preamble of the Constitution of Japan, we have declared to the world our firm resolve. We believe that no nation is responsible to itself alone, but that laws of political morality are universal, and that obedience to such laws is incumbent upon all nations who would sustain their own sovereignty and justify their sovereign relationship with other nations. We, the Japanese people, pledge our national honor to accomplish these high ideals and purposes with all our resources. Now is the time for our nation to confront the present difficulties with its full power in a spirit of international cooperation in order to defend peace and freedom for all humankind. Here, I sincerely ask for the understanding and cooperation of the people of Japan and the members of the Diet. Now, this session of the Diet is adjourned.